Three big catalysts today starting to hit the market, and it is causing mayhem. Today we'll break it down for you, get a whole line of coins, and give you guys some insights. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back in the Tech Path. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is Tangem. This is a place where you guys can get going on your self-custody journey, and if you are not doing this right now, this is the first step you should take in crypto. If you're brand new to crypto, self-custody is the ultimate, and the only way to do self-custody is with a hardware wallet. Don't trust any other kind of wallet, just go with the hardware wallet and visit tangem.com. You can use our link down below. It's going to get you into a very secure system and a hardware wallet that you can set up, and you can do it very easily. So just use our link. All right, coming in today, of course, is Mr. Tim Warren. You guys will know him from Investing Bros. And Tim is skyrocketing on the YouTube charts. So if you're not following Mr. Tim Warren right here, you can do it by just jumping over to Investing Bros right there. I like 5K to 100K. Did that work out for you?
Well, it's not there yet. That's a longer-term portfolio, but it's on its way. I think that 5K probably at the moment is sitting north of 10 at this point.
Great job over there, Tim. Hey, listen, I want to lead off with the biggest news, I think, of the day, and that is about the trade deal, not only from China, but what could be looming with both Japan and India. Let's go to a clip.
When the president says a U.S.-China trade deal is done, what does he mean?
Tariffs came down, but the Chinese had these rare earth magnets, and they were slow rolling it. And so we started putting on, the United States, when they weren't delivering the rare earth magnets, we started putting on our countermeasures, right? We were at mutual assured annoyance, if you will. And then Donald Trump got on the phone with President Xi, and he changed everything. And we just worked very positively into the night to get this deal done. They are going to approve all applications for magnets from United States companies right away. Very much like the same day. And then as they do that, we'll take off our measures, and we're in a great place with China.
All right, so a lot of details to work out, but the good thing is that there are going to be some tariff monies coming in from China. There has been agreement in raising some of the tariffs, so getting some of that trade imbalance in place. And if you look at this, Tim, this is a big thing, man. If you think about what's going on with this, along with some other catalysts we'll talk about here in a second, why are we not seeing Bitcoin run like right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. And some of that's probably going to have to do with some other coins we're going to talk about a little later. I know like Ethereum and some others which are running right now. Again, not that altcoins are going berserk. I don't think the official altcoin season has really gotten going, but we're sitting on a spot once again where you start to seriously ask the question, is an altcoin season about to hit? And this one has some differences to the last time we looked at a serious one starting way back in December of 2024 when it should have been right on pace with the 4-year cycle. But there was one thing missing about that time that I was like, okay, this one's just different. Ended up, of course, not being a full-blown altcoin season. This time, maybe the 4-year cycle part of it is broken, but we're seeing the beginnings of what historically has marked an altcoin season. We're seeing that happen again. So it's something that's really excited me. My DCA money right now, I've put a pause on Bitcoin DCA. I still hold. I still love my Bitcoin, but it's altcoin DCAing right now.
I like it. All right. Well, I've got one more clip for you because this is interesting when you look at maybe we have bottomed across the market, especially in the crypto markets, and we're on course right now with a lot of altcoins, which a lot of altcoins still bleeding down at the bottom, some of which could be really good buys. We'll talk about those in a minute. But this is Bloomberg talking about our institutions in yet. Take a look.
Don't ignore everything, but ignoring the headlines is probably a good strategy and just focus on the data has turned up. But I think it's very unlikely we're going to go back to where we were, a month and a half ago. Like we bottomed in terms of the pain of that initial, announcement and how bad those tariffs were. So unless it really re-escalates in a negative fashion, I don't think the trade issue is even going to be enough to kind of take the momentum out of this market right now.
Well, you had seen retail largely buying the dip. That's who participated when you got those ruptures in April. If we're not going to get dips like that anymore, what is the willingness of institutions to continue to put money to work right now, especially they didn't even buy the past dips we saw?
Yeah, I think institutions have re-risked, but there's still more to go. But one thing I haven't talked about yet is people are still making the quality bet, and we agree with that, meaning this isn't the beginning of a new cycle. It's once again an extension of the existing cycle, and the Fed's probably going to be cutting at some point later this year, early next year, and that really behooves the large cap quality equities.
So Mike Wilson said something there that I think is important, and that is this flight to quality. And I feel like we're seeing that maybe now in the crypto markets as well. We're seeing a lot more people talking about some of these top tier tokens. And when you look at that along with other catalysts in the market right now, Tim, one, of course, is President Trump and his best buddy, first buddy, I guess, have made up. And man, that didn't take long. Man, this seems like an old girlfriend, you know. It's just,
oh yeah,
wow, and then, you know, boom. They're making up. So you look at that and you look at what's going on in the market right now, the S&P above 6,000, a lot happening overall. Would you bet that Bitcoin goes sideways for a while, or do you feel like it's just on a little bit of a stair-step move right now?
Yeah, no, not for a while. I think we are going to resume a bull run here very quickly. And it doesn't mean right up from here. Like, I think there's still a chance of a possible pullback. I actually literally just tweeted this out. I don't know exactly when people are watching this one, but I tweeted it out. I'm going to be talking about it on my live show here today. Let me share my screen, and I'll zoom in on Bitcoin. First of all, just look at the great structure here. Isn't it crazy when you look at the chart like this, Paul, that people were freaking out back here a couple of days ago, and yet this is what that chart looks like? That is a blip. That is a very tiny pullback. This is why I tell people all the time, zoom out before you freak out. When you look at it like this and you just look zoomed in, yeah, it'd be very easy to look at this chart and be like, oh my gosh, Bitcoin's price looks disgusting. But when you zoom out, it's a very good look. But for this point, I'm going to zoom in for a second because we're looking at very small frames right here. Bitcoin is setting up in a symmetrical triangle pattern. I will give an edge to the bulls because symmetrical triangle patterns it's not really certain 100% which way it's going, but more often than not, somewhere in the world of 75 to 80% of the time, a symmetrical triangle pattern that has bullish price action going into it would go to the upside. And this would give us a price prediction for a brand new all-time high for Bitcoin in the next couple of days, I would say day or two, if we get a bullish breakout. And that's going to be targets up here towards 112,500. I don't think we stop there. I think if that break happens, you kind of get up to that level, maybe have a little retracement, but then we continue on. I think the next stop after that's probably going to be 120 or so. But I want to make sure people are aware that sometimes these symmetrical triangles do break to the downside, and that would give us a target back down here closer towards 107,000. Of course, back down here to a former resistance level. We really never came back after breaking through over here. We never came back and retapped that former high as support. So that could be logical, some logical sense right there. And the reason why people need to be aware of that possibility right now is because even though we have a lot of bullish structure, and I do not think this bull run is over whatsoever, I am aware of something happening right now on the Luxalgo 12-hour chart where we have built a massive bubble of money flow. This big green blob, that's positive money flow, and the light green is excessive spending, excessive money coming in, propping the markets up. But what happens more often than not is that bubble, I call it a bubble, it pops and you have your little pullback. And you can see right now we have a red reversal, a gray momentum dot that technically does not close until this candle closes, but all signs are right now this gray dot should hold. If this bubble pops, that would lean towards a small pullback here on the 12-hour chart. You can see in the past here, when these bubbles pop, you see explosive moves to the upside. I think that this could easily see. I don't think we have to come all the way down to the 12-hour smart trail back down towards 105, although you should be aware of that possibility. I think that 107 right now is looking an extremely attractive number for Bitcoin to pull back to. This is, again, is a chart. So you have a 12-hour bearishness, 4 hours right now. You're going to see some negativity. If I zoom out here just a little bit, some negativity. We're starting to flow to the downside. Red reverse. I'll zoom in here just to see it. Red reversal. The bearish momentum's coming in, and that money flow, it's choppy, but at the moment, it's giving us a tick to the downside. That, by the way, that 4-hour smart trail, guess where it's coming in at? Right there around that 107 prediction. So to me, even though I think that there's a chance, and it's really hard to root against the bulls right now, the momentum is still going to the upside, a pullback to 107 makes a lot of sense for Bitcoin. But again, after that, like I said in the very beginning of the Bitcoin technical analysis, zoom out before you freak out. Also, if you use TradingView, I encourage everybody to find this indicator called the Global M2 10-week lead for Bitcoin. We know that the global M2 money supply, I got to change it because sometimes I think I had one point I had it at 12. I want to leave it at 10. A lot of times, what you can do is Bitcoin and crypto usually follows the M2 money supply in a 90-day delay. Guess what? If you look at this right now, look at the timeline of what we're kind of looking at here. It looks like a small pullback is in order based off M2, followed by a big explosion to the upside. And it's still bullish right now. It's predicting, M2 money supply is predicting we'll still be bullish here late in August. And look at that correlation. If no one's ever seen this before, look at the correlation of Bitcoin price to M2 money supply. M2 is blue, Bitcoin is white. It's not a perfect match. There's times where M2 is going down and Bitcoin's going up and vice versa. But when you look at overall trends, it's extremely eerie how similar the movements are. And I was telling my trading group here yesterday, I was teaching them about it. The only times we actually see M2 and Bitcoin go in opposite directions is some sort of obscure news. For example, ETFs. M2 is going down, Bitcoin went up when the Bitcoin ETFs came out. Or there were times where M2 was going up in 2022, but Bitcoin was falling down. What was happening all of 2022? There was a recession happening. There was a lot of fear in the market. So when crazy news comes in that shakes everything up that's a little different, that's when we see a split. But as long as everything's normal, as long as the economy is healthy and things are predictable, which right now I think we're in that state, it's hard to bet against the M2 flow. And the M2 flow is saying we're going to have a very explosive and bullish summer.
This is crazy too, because we have seen cycles like this in the past where summer has been usually the doldrum. I'm wondering if Wall Street has finally woken up to the idea of 24/7 trading 365, where we're going to see tokenized stocks, where there isn't that vacation period that seems to occur every summer that usually affects crypto.
Think of it this way, Paul. Stock markets do not stop in the summer. There have been bearish summers, but that has to do with where we are economically. The stock market keeps going up. Crypto in the past summers has always gone sideways or down. Actually, back in 2017, there was an explosive move, but every year since 2017, Bitcoin and crypto has been sideways or downward in the summer. Why? Because up to this point, Bitcoin and crypto have been predominantly moving based off of retail investors, people like you and me. What happens in the summertime? Those of us who might have kids in school, our kids are out of school. We're going on vacation. We're relaxing. We're buying things to enjoy the summer. We don't have money to invest in cryptocurrency. What's different about this year, though? Those ETFs are bringing a lot of institutional buyers. I think we see this a lot more look like a Wall Street summer, not a historical crypto summer.
Yeah, and I think to kind of add on to that, this was, of course, Balchunas talking about this. The IBIT ETF now set to triple the size of the leading gold ETF and now ranks 23rd among all ETFs globally. I mean, you have to think about this, the amount of ETFs that are out there, and for IBIT, this is a Bitcoin ETF to rank 23rd. Pretty amazing considering all of them have been around from, what do you say, 12 to 32 years? And IBIT's been around since what? Let me think, January? So kind of nutso right now. We got some crazy markets coming on. And another thing that you got to look at is what's going on with the rest of the market, which could lead us into the altcoin season. One of those things is the Clarity Act. This is now passed out of the Financial Committee, and this passed 32-19. So this is going to go through. It's bipartisan, and most likely this will be, I call it the Uniswap bill, because it's going to get into DeFi more so than anything. And now the bill is going to head over to the House vote. If this gets done, which I feel like it's going to, we are going to see some pretty crazy things happening around new innovations for decentralized finance. It's the area I think that might be maybe underreported on, and definitely I think a lot of investors in general have not been watching it. I know some people have been in hype in terms of Hyperliquid, but you look at Uniswap and its move over the last week to 10 days, and many of those, the opportunity I think is going to get real very, very fast. And which kind of leads me into Ethereum. Man, let's go to your chart on ETH. What is going on with Ethereum? A lot of good movements and some very interesting key things happening. We'll get to that in a second. What do you show on ETH? Where do you like it?
Well, when you do ETH-TA, you're going to have to look at a couple different charts, but I'll start off with just ETH overall. Very bullish in the short term right now, right? This is one you almost zoom out and you're like, oh, ETH isn't that special. It had this massive pullback back here to start the year. But focus on zooming in here a little bit. What we just broke out of yesterday, right? We are longing Ethereum in my group right now. We got an explosive move up here. We got targets in the short term to $3,800. And the reason why is if you look at this horizontal red line, this rising green line, this makes up what's called an ascending triangle. Flat top, rising level. But when you attach it to an explosive move called a flagpole, this makes what we call a bull pennant. And this is an extremely bullish move right now for Ethereum that looks like it wants to come up here towards 3,800. You remember when I showed you the Bitcoin 12-hour chart that looks like it wants to slow down? While we have a bubble forming, we have no gray dot, and we see that money flow continuing to move to the upside here for Ethereum. So where you see Bitcoin maybe slowing down, it looks like 12-hour, 4-hour Ethereum's, they're actually speeding up. They're continuing to the upside. Doesn't mean we can't have some form of a pullback at some point next day or two, but I do see stops between here and 3,800 being minimal. I don't see us dropping back down below 2,700 unless something really bad comes in that ruins this bullish momentum. But what makes Ethereum way more attractive right now is actually what you look at with some other charts. I'm showing you this is ETH over USD. What about ETH over Bitcoin right now that's in a little bit of a bull pennant of its own? This is one, let's zoom out here. It got ugly. I mean, I predicted, I was wrong here. I thought that we were going to stop sometime last November. I thought altcoin season would happen November 2024. I said somewhere here in that 0.32 range would be the bottom of Ethereum. We kept bleeding. But look where we bottomed out here, Paul. Right back to the same lows of 2020 before the bull run continued to the upside. And zooming back in here, again, just like the ETH over USD, ETH over Bitcoin is forming a bull pennant as well, with targets back up to levels we have not seen since back in January. And that's just the beginning. I think, again, historically, we're looking at the big move to the upside. But that is what kind of affects the chart that everyone's talking about right now, or everyone should be talking about right now. We're both friends with Ben Cowan, who loves to talk about this chart. It's the Bitcoin dominance chart. This is going to be one of the biggest indicators of an altcoin season beginning. No altcoin has more of an effect on the Bitcoin dominance chart going down than Ethereum, or going up. And the reason why is because Ethereum is the second largest cryptocurrency. It has the biggest threat against Bitcoin dominance. But with the recent rally here on ETH, and even though Bitcoin's not falling, it's kind of staying still, we just broke out of a rising wedge channel on the Bitcoin dominance chart after putting in a lower high than this peak back here on May 7th. I have short-term targets for Bitcoin dominance to fall back down towards 62%. But here's what I'm going to say. Altcoin season, I need to see us drop below 61.8. And the reason why is because I need to see a confirmed bear trend with now we've seen a lower high put in, but can we also see a lower low? We had a little bit of a fake out back here. Remember I told you November, December was supposed to be the 4-year cycles start of an altcoin season. It looked really good. You got this very dramatic fall in Bitcoin dominance. In fact, it was a fall of roughly 11%. Then you come back up, you have a little bounce back, and we put in a lower high, right? So at this point, even in late December, you're feeling really good about history repeating itself and Bitcoin dominance about to fall off a cliff. What does it do? It comes in, it puts in a higher low, cancels out the bear trend, and then goes off to new highs for this season. So in the same thing, I want to learn from that lesson. While I'm extremely optimistic, and I'll talk about that in a second, why I'm optimistic this time, I still need to see the proof before I'm committed. I need to see Bitcoin dominance put in a lower high and a lower low, start that bear trend, and all of a sudden we're talking about potentially that repeat of what we saw way back there in January 2021 when Ethereum and altcoins went crazy. Now, before I let this go, Paul, I know we have a lot more to talk, but I said earlier there was something that didn't happen in November that's happening now that's really important difference. Historically, altcoin season has always started with Bitcoin emerging and then Ethereum, not other altcoins. Altcoins might rally, but Ethereum's dominance starting to climb. And then a couple of months right behind Ethereum's dominance, that comes the altcoin roaring season. Back in November, Ethereum wasn't doing that. Ethereum over Bitcoin was still dropping, like I showed you earlier. So it was a weird thing. This time, the reason why this one has more credit is because it's actually repeating history where Ethereum is taking off. Give it another month or two. If ETH is still rallying, don't be surprised if altcoins go berserk and Bitcoin dominance falls off a cliff.
Well, and a couple of things that are different than the last cycles. One of the biggest, I think, are going to be two strategies that are playing out in the traditional investing markets. One, of course, is Ethereum's ETFs. You can continue to see the spike happening right now as everybody's chasing Bitcoin Ethereum as it's nearing the $3,000 mark. And you look at that, even with Bitcoin, which has slowed quite a bit here, even on ETFs. You go back to the last major day, which was May 22nd, and then a couple of almost a week full of down days. And then just here over the last couple of days, we've seen a little bit of inflow positivity. But the point being is that ETH has really started to wake up a lot of the giants in terms of traditional investing. Then you take a look at a strategy, one that we've been following here on the show for some time, has been around a little known stock called SBET. Now, Tom Lee, we respect him as one of the best analysts out there, but he actually mentioned this stock in his tweet right here. I want to kind of zoom in on that. And he's talking about SBET. Now, SBET, if you guys don't know what that is, we put a couple of videos out about it, so go back and check it out. But it's very related to Ethereum. Just go over there and visit their website. You'll find it. And immediately understand that this is the company that most likely, first, it's being led now by Joseph Lubin as one of the board members. But the real key thing here is they may become the new MicroStrategy for Ethereum, meaning putting a lot more money and just basically a company that is investing in ETH as a whole. With the Clarity Act coming into play, what we're seeing in the ETFs for Ethereum, and now what's going on with SBET, we could see some pretty big action. So I'm in agreement with you. A lot of cool stuff going on for sure. But you're calling for a 3,800. That would be 33% from where we are right now.
Yeah, and that is just in the next couple of days or weeks. That's not even end of summer. End of summer, I think Ethereum is easily at new all-time highs. Probably sitting just a little north of 5,000. But if this altcoin season does take off the way I think it can before the end of summer, be patient. I'm not talking about tomorrow. Don't think we're hitting $5,000 by the end of the week or anything. But the momentum is picking up for sure. And there's things here, Paul. I said this on your channel back in January, and it took longer than I thought. But I told your community, as I tell mine, there are two things that we're waiting for altcoin season to hit from a new standpoint. Number one, quantitative easing. And while they've dangled that carrot that they might cut rates soon, and they might do this, that, and the other, they've continued to remove that. Well, guess what? Right now, we have some catalysts from tariff talk that maybe allows Jerome Powell to say, hey, there's no more uncertainty. Inflation's actually okay. We can cut rates. I'm not betting on that. I'm actually looking at that big, beautiful bill, which, of course, has caused so much drama in the entire X space here in the last week and some change. But whether we get cuts or not, the big, beautiful bill will make money printers turn back on. What happens when money printers turn back on? That's added liquidity in the space. It goes into risk on assets. So the first thing, quantitative easing, liquidity coming in, I think we're seeing that coming. But the other thing you talked about earlier, and I talked about back in January, I also said institutions. There are trillions of dollars of institutional money who want to buy altcoins. They want to buy Ethereum. They want to buy Chainlink and Ondo and AVAX and a lot of these amazing cryptos that are going to be a part of the future. But their boards are telling them you cannot purchase a single Satoshi until there's clarity when it comes to regulation. We got to know the rules. That's also coming around the corner. So now I'm seeing the catalyst, the actual things from a logical standpoint, not just charts. The logical reasons for altcoin season are all coming together here this summer. I'm really bullish on that.
Yeah, and I think you hit it, is that we are seeing a new cycle, evidence of not just the participation of retail and institutional capital. Now we're looking at really what a lot of the even DC is saying, and that is they are bringing crypto mainstream here in the United States. And I think that is going to be a worldwide phenomenon that is going to start exposing a lot of these major tokens. Before we get into all of that, I want to jump over to Polygon and a couple other tokens real quick. Polygon had a big update. Essentially what this boils down to is they are going to depreciate the ZK EVM next year, and their razor focus is now going to be on Polygon Aglair, which is a big deal for Paul, the token. When you look at Polygon right now, because this has been a token that's been deflated fairly heavily, would this be a buy maybe going into the altcoin season?
Yeah, I think it's really far down. Now, I kind of went big, not that I went viral or anything, but I made a big statement a while ago that I sold my Polygon. It was still called Matic at the time, but now it's called Poly. I sold mine a while ago. That being said, I'm a trader. I love seeing opportunities. What I think that I want to start off by saying before I get into the bullish side of this, when you look at the chart here, this is not a pretty chart. So unfortunately, if you were somebody who bought Polygon way back in February of 2023, maybe we'll see it get back up and break even. Let me zoom in here a little bit. I realize I'm pretty zoomed out. If you bought it way back up here when it was $1.32, I'm not saying we can't get back up there. I'm not saying we couldn't see a 10x from here and get up to like $2 and something, right? But if you're sitting here just holding on thinking, man, I can't wait for when Matic hits a brand new all-time high, I want people to be aware there's so many new things in this new system. I think this concept where Polygon really benefited in 2021 from being the #1 layer 2 solution for Ethereum, there's so many other things that make layer 2s not as big of a ecosystem this go around. So I want you to temper your expectations. So I'm speaking to older holders about that. Newer holders, hey, one of the greatest things you can do is buy when there's blood in the streets. And you want to talk about a chart that's blood in the streets. I mean, we didn't just lose the lows from back in May of 2021. We have just eviscerated them, right? We just came way far down. You see some bullish structure coming in. I mean, we're back up here. If you were brave enough to buy that 15-cent dip, I mean, you're up 52% since there. There's just a lot of room to the upside, a lot of room that can still happen here. I think bare minimum, you're going to see us get back up here to resistance. Like, this is a very bare minimum. We're talking about another 60% move to the upside. I think realistically, like I said, getting back up to some of the levels we did have it at back here in 2024 and 2023, that would probably be my comfort level of if I bought Poly today, that's probably where I'm getting out. We're talking about a 430% increase. That's a 5.3x on your investment. Not too shabby whatsoever. So opportunity is there for newer holders. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope anyone who bought here in February 2023, I hope you make a lot of money and Polygon goes up here and shoots through $5, $10, $15. But the likelihood, it's just not there for me. So I'm going to be skeptical on longer term holding Polygon. I don't own any Polygon, but longer term holders, not great news for you. Newer holders, I think you guys have a good investment here.
I want to go to a clip real quick. This is in reference to XRP, and then I'll show you something. I want to get your opinion on that. But the clip is Brad Garlinghouse kind of talking a little bit about XRP ecosystem. Take a look at this one.
I've never purchased a meme coin, ever. If I did buy one, I'd buy the all the money XRP meme coin.
There you go.
Wow.
Well, now you have to.
Now I have to.
Okay, so you have a homework assignment.
By the way, I feel like 25 people in the audience just went online. They're buying all the money.
Oh, no.
Yes,
Don't do it.
for sure.
Let me get in first. Just kidding.
What is happening?
All right, so all the money, 589. I think, if you're in the XRP ecosystem, you completely get that one. First of all, XRP. Do you like XRP to run with Ethereum? Because I did a poll real quick. This was on my Twitter account, and I put market boom incoming. This was last night. What happens first? Bitcoin to 120, ETH to 4K, or XRP to $5? And of course, the XRP army is out there holding it up there. But which one do you like, Tim? What would you say happens first between where we are right now in the market?
That is a very good poll, because I think the timeline is going to be very similar. For those three actions. Here's what I'll say. I love XRP. I didn't know that. I didn't ever watch the video of Brad Garlinghouse. Him and I had that in common. We've never bought meme coins. I don't know if he's actually going to buy meme coins. I don't really plan on it. But no, I actually had a video last week where we talked about XRP and Ethereum being the front runners of this altcoin season. And again, why would they be the front runners? Because as institutions get in, they're going to look at those bigger ones first. The money's going to flow from larger caps into smaller caps.
Right.
what are the two largest altcoins out there? Ethereum and XRP.
And XRP.
They're probably the two most friendly to institutions. Although, again, people are going to continue to crucify me for it. I still think I think people sleep on Chainlink and how special Chainlink's going to be in the future. But I digress because that's not the conversation here. When it comes to XRP, I've been tracking this, and people are going to say, Tim, we've been waiting for this over and over again. Look at the consolidation here on XRP. I have been waiting. We broke up here and very quickly established this bull flag pattern, right? This explosive move back in November. We explode up here to 336, and then we've been consolidating sideways. This has a long-term target over $11. Can't wait for that. It has a short-term target, if we can break through this red level right here, of a move up here. I have it highlighted right there, but a move up here of 435. So that's why I think, I didn't answer the question. I think the one I'd least, I don't think that XRP is going to make it to $5 before Bitcoin to 120 and
120
ETH to 4,000. But I still am very bullish on what XRP is going to do here. By the way, this is another thing I've been showing people. Bollinger Band constriction, great indicator if you're looking for when is something about to explode to the upside. Notice after spreading out here in the fall and then early this year, we are constricting on this weekly Bollinger Bands. The resistance is coming tight. The support's coming tight. What happens when we're this constricted? Well, the last time we were this constricted, we're talking about, and we were in there for a little while, but we're talking about the last time this constriction happened, October, November 2024. What happened? XRP explodes to the upside. Are we going to explode and make the same movement that fast? Probably not. But again, explode to 435, keep making our moves up, and then before the end of the bull market, we're talking about 11. Heck, if the trillions come in that could, if we get $20 trillion, don't be surprised to see XRP over $20. I'm probably not waiting for $20 to take profit, but if 20 trillion comes in, don't be surprised if XRP goes that high.
Wow.
XRP is still explosive. People love to hate on it. You know, I used to be a hater of XRP. There's rational reasons out there, but I came back down to this argument. Do you want to make money? And if your answer is yes, you probably going to want XRP.
Yeah, that's a good argument. I like that one. I want to go over to Solana, though, real quick. And Solana, of course, had an update from the SEC. This is around the Solana ETF issuers now are submitting a new amended S1. That happens this week. So this could mean an early track for a Solana ETF. Now, what we've seen with the Ethereum ETF was a little slow start and then all of a sudden that explosion. And timing could be right around the corner in alignment with altcoin season. So if we get a run on Solana, what do you think is going to happen here?
Well, by the way, we were just talking about it. Let's also not forget June 17th here, literally 6 days from today. The SEC is talking about an XRP spot ETF.
Yes,
so
yes.
Are we about to see like a snowball?
Man, that would be
ETFs?
insane. Boom,
that would be
boom.
great.
Huge.
Let's go take a look. Yeah, let's take a look at what the Solana chart looks like here. I'm going to have to zoom out for a second. Let's turn off my Bollinger Bands there. A little bit messier chart. Similar to XRP, though. Again, you have this massive explosion. It didn't happen in 2024. This actually happened in 2023. But then for the most part, you come back here to March. People have been a little disappointed with Solana, but it's just consolidating. You have no massive pullback. It could have gotten we could have seen Solana pull back down below $50 and it still be a bullish structure. It never dropped back below 94, and I don't think we're ever going to see below 100 ever again. Zooming in here, big breakout here more recently. Now, we're going to hit some of these targets here in a second, but falling wedge pattern, we told our group, hey, look for this breakout. Look for Solana to make a move when it does break out back up here to around $180. We're not there yet, but we're making some moves there. This is another one. Solana is an ETF favorite. There's so many VCs in it. Summer, end of summer, don't be surprised. Not just to get back up here to 267. I have targets up above 362 is my expectation for end of summer on Solana. When you move out to that weekly chart where you're just seeing a bunch of buy signals still piling up, I think we can do the same thing we did the last time we exploded, and that's stretch and get to the top of these red waves. If that happens, that's what my target's coming at, 362. I think there's also a Fibonacci level in there that's an interesting one to keep an eye on. Oh, no, actually, Fibonacci would tell us go up here to actually 400 to the 1.272. So 360 to 400, that's my end of summer goal for Solana. And again, you zoom back in, you're seeing those signs right now. The big breakouts, they're coming. We got to start stacking up some higher highs and higher lows. We've been doing that the last couple of weeks. Let's continue. Let's get back above 180. Let's start moving back above 200. and Solana should be off to the races.
Yeah, Tim, you got some bullish calls here. Of course, ETH possibly a 33% move in the next few days or weeks. Then you've got this Solana move maybe by end of summer, hovering around. If it does get to the 400 mark, that would be 140% gain on that token. So pretty significant. And then obviously what we're talking about here from XRP. And Tim, thanks for coming in today. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Paul.
You bet. All right, you guys, get in on the link down below. We have a Telegram group for you guys, and it's exploding over there. A lot of new members. Thank you so much for coming in. You guys can talk to me directly there. I actually can converse right there on Telegram with you. I run polls in there. I'll chat with you individually. You can do that right there. And follow me on X, @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.